Dear you, I'm writing to you from a version of yourself who remembers the quiet exhaustion of pretending you were okay long before you ever felt okay. It wasn't a performance you chose. It was a habit you learned. You smiled when you were hurting. You acted steady when you felt unstable. You said, "I'm fine," so often that the words stopped meaning anything to you. They became a shield, a small barrier between your truth and a world you didn't trust to hold it gently. I remember how automatic it became. Even when someone genuinely asked how you were doing, you offered the safest version of your feelings. You softened the truth. You tucked away the heaviness. You made your pain sound smaller than it was because you worried that speaking honestly would make someone uncomfortable, or worse, would make you feel exposed. You didn't want to seem dramatic, or needy, or difficult, so you carried your emotions like fragile glass tucked under your coat. Quiet, hidden, unseen. There were days when you felt like two different people. The version you showed the world and the version you carried inside. The outside you kept moving, kept functioning, but the inside you felt tired. Tired in a way that sleep couldn't fix. You felt the weight of unsaid thoughts, unresolved fears, and unspoken sadness pressing against your ribs, and still, you told yourself, just get through today. You became so used to pretending that you sometimes forgot how to be honest with yourself. When your heart hurt, you distracted yourself. When fear rose in your throat, you swallowed it. When loneliness crept into your chest, you convinced yourself you didn't need anyone. You pushed your feelings down so often that eventually they stopped knocking as loudly. But late at night, when everything was quiet and you finally had nowhere to hide, the truth surfaced. You felt the ache you had ignored all day. You felt the longing for comfort you didn't know how to ask for. You felt the heaviness that had been following you for months. And despite all the pretending, you wished someone Anyon would see through the mask without you having to explain it. I saw you. I saw every moment when your smile trembled. I saw every second when your voice dimmed. I saw the hesitation in your eyes when someone asked if you were okay. And none of it made you weak. It made you someone who carried more than most people knew. Someone who needed support, but didn't know how to accept it. Someone who survived by pretending because you didn't think you were allowed to fall apart. Your past self understands now that pretending to be okay wasn't dishonesty. It was self-protection. It was the emotional armor you built after being hurt, misunderstood, minimized, or dismissed in the past. You learned the hard way that vulnerability wasn't always safe. You learned that not everyone had the capacity to hold your feelings with care. You learned that sometimes opening up only led to disappointment. And so, pretending became your way of navigating a world that didn't always feel gentle. You weren't trying to deceive anyone. You were trying not to be hurt again. Pretending helped you survive environments where your emotions were too heavy for the people around you. It helped you maintain peace in moments when telling the truth would have caused conflict. It helped you keep moving on days when breaking down didn't feel like an option. But pretending came with a cost. It made you feel alone, even in rooms full of people. It created distance between your inner world and the support you deserved. It taught you to silence emotions that needed expression, and over time, you began to confuse your mask for your identity. Your past self wants you to understand something clearly. You didn't hide your feelings because you lacked strength. You hid them because you lacked safety. There's a difference. You weren't emotionally weak. You were emotionally isolated. You didn't need to tune up. You needed gentleness. You needed someone who could listen without judging, understand without lecturing, and stay without retreating. You didn't need more strength. You already had enough strength to fill years of pretending. What you needed was permission to not be strong all the time. Your tendency to pretend didn't come from emptiness. It came from empathy. You didn't want to burden others. You didn't want your pain to add weight to someone else's day. You didn't want to seem like you were asking for too much. But the truth is, your feelings were never too much. You just carried them alone for too long. Pretending protected you once, but now it's keeping you distant from the deeper connections and healing you deserve. And your past self, looking back, understands how liberating it becomes when you begin to let the truth surface, little by little, in safe places with safe people. Now, I'm speaking to the version of you here today, the you who is still learning how to let yourself be seen, the you who still hesitates before sharing your heart, the you who still feels that old pull towards silence and self-protection. I want you to breathe gently and let this truth settle deep inside you. You no longer need to pretend to be okay. You are allowed to be real. You are allowed to need support. You are allowed to sit with your feelings without hiding them. Being honest about your emotions doesn't make you weak. It makes you brave. It makes you human. It makes you open to receiving the care you've denied yourself for so long. You don't have to reveal everything at once. Healing doesn't demand full exposure. It asks for moments of truth. Small moments. Honest moments. Moments where you choose authenticity over the comfort of your mask. Moments where you let someone in, even just a little. Moments where you say, actually, I'm struggling, and trust that the right people will stay. You are learning to express emotions that were buried. You are learning to feel without fear. You are learning to trust your own vulnerability again. You are learning to choose honesty, even when it feels unfamiliar. Your future self will look back and thank you for every moment you choose truth over pretending. Because those moments will lead you to relationships that are deeper, safer, more nourishing. They will lead you to places where you no longer need to hide. They will lead you to a version of yourself who feels whole, present, and real. One day soon, you will look in the mirror and recognize yourself again. Not the masked version, not the quiet pretender, but the true you. The you who feels without apologizing. The you who speaks honestly without fear. The you who breathes deeply because you no longer carry the weight of silence. Take a slow breath now. Let it soften your chest. Let it warm the places inside you that once held fear. Let it remind you, You don't have to pretend anymore. You deserve to be known. You deserve to be understood. You deserve to be held by people who appreciate the truth of who you are. And you're learning, one breath at a time, that saying, "I'm not okay," is not a weakness. It's the beginning of finally becoming okay. Sincerely, you.